Well, all right then, folks, and there you have it. If it ain't live, it is definitely not HMW Sports Talk Live. Good evening, and welcome to another broadcast of HMW Sports Talk Live right here on Access TV. I am Craig Shelton of HoustonMediaWatch.com. I encourage you to go check out the website at www.HoustonMediaWatch.com. Joining me here in studio today is my good friend from 97.5 ESPN, my main man, Fred Fowler. Fred, how are you today?
I am fantastic, and thanks for having me back. Love doing the show, man.
Man, we always appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us, doing a little double duty today. I know you have to do your national show today, correct?
That's right. I'll be on Yahoo Sports Radio from 7 to 9. So heading out to do that right after this.
Well, 7 o'clock is a hot hour here in Houston in Central Time, because at 7 o'clock, obviously, that we'll be getting something pretty important going on in New York that'll be broadcast all over the country. And that will be this year's presentation of the Heisman Trophy. And that's where we'll start tonight. Fred will be here with us tonight in the first segment. Angela Lawford from HMW will join us in the second segment of the show. And also, we have a feature for you tonight. The man, Richard Big Walker, will come from behind the cameras, and he will grace us with his presence. All 200-something pounds of it, all right? How about that, man? Fred, this is probably the only thing that could overshadow back-to-back freshmen winning the Heisman Trophy, because that's pretty much what's going to happen tonight. Jameis Winston is going to win the Heisman Trophy, or if he doesn't, we're going to all be shocked. But the only thing that could overshadow something like that in a scenario with the Heisman is the backstory that's been going on with Jameis Winston and how that's played out. I'd like to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how the vote totals go, because this guy, it should be a landslide. And if you remember back to Cam Newton, who was just as clear a winner, he didn't get as many votes as he should have because of the whole laptop thing and everything else, and the potential money that may have changed hands with his dad. And with this, I think you're going to see the same thing. And it shouldn't be close. I mean, it should be the biggest margin in history, and I don't think it's going to be, because too many people judge someone and decide they're guilty just because of charges that were never made. It was an allegation. None of us know what happened. And I think people and I think somebody at San Antonio wrote that they just didn't fill out a ballot. That's silly. And the whole idea is vote for the best player. And if you don't vote for him, then you've just decided he's guilty of something, which, by the way, wasn't charged with. And not that he was exonerated, but well, we're talking about a situation that happens on a lot of college campuses where we don't really know what happened. You can't punish a kid for that. And yeah, if he's charged, and even if he's charged, you got to prove him guilty. And there's a lot of steps to that. So I'm going to be really curious to see the vote total, because I don't think he's going to get the numbers he should. And it's kind of disappointing. And the real question also, who finishes second in this?
Well, we got 5 guys lined up. Jordan Lynch, A.J. McCarron, Johnny Manziel, Trey Mason, Andre Williams. I guess we have to, in fairness, we have to make the argument for folks on the other side of your comments. And I'll give you an opportunity to respond to that. I mean, for the guy that's out there that says, well, the Heisman Trophy is not just about what a guy does on the field. It's about, all of the glory and glamour, the tradition around the trophy, the integrity. And I guess there should be some air of integrity involved with it. But when you start getting off into the legal side of it and people being accused of crimes, let's just face it, a felony, it just makes for a tricky landscape to navigate. And I kind of, dare I say, I kind of feel bad for the Heisman Committee and the voters, because they didn't ask for that.
No.
I mean, let's be honest, they didn't ask for that, and it's up to these kids to kind of keep themselves on a straight and narrow. And the other part of that is with so much going on and so much that happens, you would think that by now kids and parents and coaching staffs will have figured it out to keep these type of things from occurring. But guess what, folks? There's no fix. No fix.
Well, one of the key words you said there was integrity. And that is part of the award, and I do think people will not vote for him because of that. But what you're talking about is let's stop 21-year-olds from having sex.
Right.
Forget that. That's not going to happen.
Right.
And again, I don't want to, because
stop 41-year-olds from having sex.
Stop 49-year-olds, man. But no, the truth is, With a situation like this where we don't really know what happened. It's the kind of thing is alcohol's involved, and I think we've all been in situations. I know I have, where I woke up the next morning and go, okay, who is this? What the heck happened? And I'm supposedly an adult, but I don't want to dismiss charges because I know that's one of those things that that women who are legitimately sexually abused a lot of times will not come forward, and they see stories like this, and that's why. So I can understand that side of it, but we just don't know enough about it, and the story was overblown. And I blame my co-employers at ESPN for a lot of this because that's what media is now. We hammer things, we find things to bite our teeth into, and then we go. And they did whole sports centers with, you know how they have the list on the side, and they've got like 10 Jameis Winston things.
Right.
And it's the same thing they did with Tim Tebow. And it's whenever a story like this happens, it gets way more attention than it should. And media's changed so much. I don't know how a lot of these kids do it, frankly, because if you look at Johnny Manziel, look at his offseason last year. We knew about every party he went to. You know, the whole autograph signing thing comes out. Yeah. And, of course, all that's fresh in their minds. So the voters are thinking, oh, man, are we going to have another guy who's going to do all this? And, you know, so I understand all that side of it, but I think the truth is it also happens every day in real life, and it doesn't get plastered all over ESPN. And sometimes charges are filed and sometimes they're not. And I understand the accuser in this case really wanted to look at the Tallahassee Police Department and how they handled it, because maybe they didn't do the best job. And I see where they were going with that. With all that aside, it has nothing to do with the trophy.
Yeah, and you're alluding a little bit to the more recent stories that are coming out in regard to the Jameis Winston story after the fact. I'll call it after the fact. I just think it's really good to go ahead and just get past it today, get the trophy in the kid's hand. If we're gonna have a Reggie Bush scenario, only in terms of, you know, something coming out later that the whole thing is rescinded and the trophy is given back, fine, whatever it is. But I do think it's all about the best player on the, it's about the best quarterback on the field. The Heisman Trophy is not about the best player.
It's just like the BCS. It's a beauty contest.
Let's be honest.
It's a beauty contest is what it is. It is the most prominent player usually on the best team. Now, the last couple of years, that hasn't.
Prominent quarterback.
Most of the time, it's the most prominent quarterback because we saw guys win it who, like Jason White, guys like that were just the best, the most prominent player on the best team. Now, Johnny Manziel changed that a little bit because he was clearly the best player in college football last year. RG3 was clearly the best player in college football the year he won it, and those were not teams that went undefeated and played for national championships. I think we're kind of regressing back to that with Jameis Winston. You can certainly make the case he was the best player, but clearly he was the most deserving Heisman winner. If Alabama's undefeated, you make a damn good case for A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, and I can't, because I think the A.J. McCarron argument goes back to what you were saying a moment ago.
But that's what the Heisman usually is.
Right.
Right or wrong. That's...
you're right. And it falls in line with that. That's just one of those areas where I have a problem with the trophy. Really, what I think the Heisman Commission should do is start awarding the Heisman Trophy in terms of positions, receiver positions, quarterback positions, because there's no true. I mean, who was a better player than Ndamukong Suh when he graduated from Nebraska? There was no better, more dominating player in college football than Suh was, but he, didn't have a chance at winning the Heisman Trophy. Who won it? Was it Bradford won it that year? I think it was Sam Bradford. Is that sound about right?
Sounds right.
I think it was Sam Bradford. Was Sam Bradford ever a better football player than Ndamukong Suh? I mean, if you went to school in Oklahoma, you could make an argument. He was a good college quarterback, a really good college quarterback on a fantastic team. But was he a more dominating player than Ndamukong Suh? Of course not.
No, but I think that's where you look at the Johnny Manziels and the RG3s and you say, okay, hey, they finally gave it to the best player in college football.
And it's okay.
But I'll be honest, I can't tell you who the best player in college football is this year.
This year?
It's the defensive tackle from Pitt who won all the awards the other night. It might be him.
It could be. I still think, the most talented player in college football is the Javion Clowney. Now, whether or not he realizes that at the next level is a whole other thing. But
he wasn't the best player this year.
No, he wasn't the best
player.
He's
certainly talented.
The best player this year, I still think, was Johnny Manziel.
Might have been. I think the finish kind of hurt him a little bit. And I know he was hurt at the end of the year, which is one of my concerns about him as an NFL quarterback is he's not the biggest guy. And he's just like Case Keenum. I think long term, if you're asking that guy to play 16 games the way he plays, he's going to get hurt. He's still my favorite player to watch in college football by far, but the way he finished with especially with 2 losses and the loss at Missouri where he just wasn't very good and cost his team, I think it's hard to make the argument, but he may still finish second in this thing.
Yeah, I can see a scenario where Manziel finishes second. If I probably had to put money on it, it would probably be McCarron. I just think he's a cleaner, safer. He makes people feel better about their vote in those terms. And you know what? I say that, but we should be all right with that. We should be all right with good, clean kids being thought of highly. But I don't like it when those kids are just fallbacks.
Right.
We fall back on those kids for that reason because we don't want to see another kid rewarded who may not be the cleanest kid, the most polished kid in regard to PR wise and media wise, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. We definitely are fired up to see how this turns out tonight. I don't think there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of drama in regard to who's probably going to walk across the stage and receive the trophy and speak to his peers in the room tonight. It should be a great evening for that kid, for Jameis Winston, after a year with a lot of turmoil, and he showed a lot of poise, kind of like Cam Newton did in his year when he won the Heisman. What we're going to do, folks, is we're going to get ready to close this segment out. Fred Fowler was nice enough to join us here in the first segment tonight. He's got a busy night. He's got to get out here and hit the road. Angelo Lawford to join us here in the second segment, and we'll get off into a little bit of conversation in regard to the baseball winter meetings and the proposed rule changes. I want to talk a little bit about that because I think there's some pretty interesting dynamics there, and how what we're seeing now being proposed in baseball may eventually matriculate over into basketball. It's all about head injuries, folks, and there's no one that can tell me that's not what it's all about. So, Fred, we appreciate you joining us, man.
Hey, anytime, man.
You got to get on that road.
Happy to do it.
All right,
Wish
man.
I could stay longer.
Well, we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, I'll tell you what, we're going to roll to a break, and when we get back, it'll be more of HMW Sports Talk Live.